have a brand new interview with Ripple's president, Monica Long, being interviewed by Bloomberg Crypto. They're going to bring up the $500 million recent investment by Citadel and Fortress, plans acquisitions ahead, and embracing regulation and legitimizing the crypto space. There's a lot of brand new things here that we need to discuss, talk about, listen to, acknowledge, and really kind of paint a picture of what the future is going to look like here in 2026 for Ripple and XRP. Let's just get into it.
And Tim, I'm watching Ripple's digital coin, that's XRP. And what you can see right now is that it has made a bit of a comeback in recent weeks as Ripple, the company, looks to expand its offerings. You look at XRP, it's actually back to the highest level since about mid-November. In early December, Ripple, the company, raised $500 million, attracting some big Wall Street investors, including Citadel and Fortress.
And that's exactly where I want to start, with Ripple president Monica Long. She joins us on Bloomberg Crypto this afternoon. Monica, Happy New Year. Good to see you. I just want to start with that $500 million share sale back in November at a $40 billion valuation. Give us an update in the couple of months since then. What have you done with the money so far?
Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year. So yes, we were very pleased with the fundraise in Q4. And you'd also mentioned, 2025 was a big year for Ripple for both our organic growth and then also inorganic. So we had acquired 4 companies last year with the fundraise as well. We are now focused on integrating those businesses and continuing to grow.
All right, the 4 companies are G Treasury, Hidden Road, which is now called Ripple Prime, Rail, which is 10% of global business to business. It's infrastructure for stablecoin payments. And you have Palisade. Those were the 4 big acquisitions that Ripple did in 2025. What's going to happen in 2026? Could it be bigger? I think it'll be bigger.
I wanted to get some more color on the fundraising specifically because it included this one structure, certain protections, the right for those companies that you sold shares to sell shares back to Ripple at a guaranteed price and guaranteed return and preferential treatment should a major event like a bankruptcy or sale occur. Can you give us a little more context, a little more color on why you were willing to offer those terms?
So the overall structure for the fundraise is very, very positive, very favorable for Ripple. We were really pleased to welcome Fortress and Citadel onto our cap table, in addition to a number of other crypto native premier funds. And what they really saw was that our business is working. Our strategy of creating digital asset infrastructure for businesses and financial institutions alongside the inflection point that stablecoin payments hit last year was, something that they wanted to be a part of. And as we point more toward applying these technologies to the world of capital markets, having investors like Citadel and Fortress and others are great strategic partners on that front.
Right. I hear the case for why they wanted to be part of the Ripple story, but I'm wondering in terms of the structure of the deal offering those protections, was it necessary to get that deal done and to secure a big valuation?
To my knowledge, they were excited to be to be investors in Ripple, and we were very pleased with how the terms of the deal panned out.
Hey, Monica.
Really quickly here, right? If you have a deal like on a raise this big, there's going to be some give and take on both sides. Right? These big institutions want to make sure that they're not stepping off a cliff. And so they want to have some protections, as you would if you were investing $500 million. And so I get the pressing and asking, but obviously there's things that they can't talk about or won't talk about in the meeting. So let's just move on and ask about other things, right?
One thing that's interesting about Ripple as a company is that much of the perceived value is tied up in XRP, the cryptocurrency that Ripple owns. Talk a little bit about diversification. You mentioned acquisition of late, but how are you diversifying moving forward?
So the whole strategy of our company is to create products. So the connective tissue that traditional finance needs to make blockchain and cryptocurrencies and stablecoins, all these tokenized assets, to make them actually useful and applicable in the real world, you need a host of different components such as secure digital asset custody, compliant on and off ramps. A big part of our strategy has also been compliance first. So we've acquired a book of 70 plus licenses around the world to facilitate those flows for our customers. And so, bringing all of that together for our clients has been what we're focused on.
Stop typing when you're interviewing somebody. We can hear you typing in the background. It's pretty annoying. If you are Bloomberg, you should know that you should mute your microphone if you're going to be interviewing somebody of this caliber. I'm sorry, but it just frustrates me when I hear the clickety clack when I'm trying to listen to what she's saying. A little bit about this, like spicy sensei today. Ripple is one of the few blockchain infrastructure companies globally that has licenses in almost every big jurisdiction that they need to be successful. And as the days, months, and years go on, they increase those licenses. Now, in America here, Ripple getting a national trust bank charter from the OCC, that's going to give them everything that they need to operate across all 50 states in the United States. They don't have to go through each state, federally and state, to get those licenses approved, right? They already have, I think, like 30 or something like that, so a large portion of it, but they'll have everything covered. Now, when you're going to the EU, right, they've been working with Luxembourg, and the licensing that they've got in Luxembourg allows them to operate across the entire EU spectrum. And so they licenses in Japan, licenses in Australia, basically anywhere they're going to operate, they're going to need these licenses or special certifieds from regulators to allow them to operate as a financial services business or whatever the infrastructure it is that's specifically in that part of the country or that part of the world. And I'd imagine that over time, you're going to see Ripple get above 80, 100 licenses. They're going to really want to cover every single country and everything that they're going to need to be successful.
You said back in November, a couple months ago, that the company has, quote, no plan, no timeline for an IPO. Obviously, with these new investors and with existing investors, they're ultimately going to want to see a return on that investment. Can you give us an update on the IPO?
Currently, we still plan to remain private. Often the strategy driving an IPO is to
raise money,
get the access to the investors and the liquidity of the public markets. And between the strength of our balance sheet standalone, which is really what we've been able to leverage to make these acquisitions, alongside interest from strategics like Citadel and Fortress, we're in a really healthy position to continue to fund and invest in our company's growth without going public.
And part of that growth, of course, is tied to getting limited banking charters from the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller in Currency, you and other crypto companies, making what many would say is a first step towards integrating into the federal banking system. What specifically are your plans for a bank charter?
Yes. So with the passing of the Genius Act, which was monumental for the industry and for stablecoin adoption last year, not just in the US, but around the world, how we launched RLUSD, Ripple US Dollar, was under a New York DFS trust license. And so with the passing of the Genius Act, we also are, seeking the federal regulation through the OCC with this charter. And so our plans are really just to ensure that how we manage and implement our stablecoin USD is to the highest regulatory standards.
Understood. Is there anything that we should expect this year in terms of new features or services now that you have been granted these limited banking charter?
So at the moment, just continuing to grow RLUSD alongside our payments business, integrating these new acquisitions and making those all a success is what we have in mind. And we think the OCC charter has been really well received by our industry. We have been seeking that kind of level of regulation for a long time. And so this really legitimizes what we're doing.
So you mentioned some of those acquisitions. The company has been quite acquisitive. Where do you see M&A opportunities in 2026? Some of those acquisitions.
Really quickly, anytime an IPO is brought up, whether it's Brad, Monica, doesn't matter who it is, Ripple always says we're not interested right now, right? I start to think and I start to wonder, do you think Ripple's playing the long game here? Well, obviously they have, right? They haven't IPO'd, it's been all these years. But do you think they're trying to get to a place where XRP's value is worth so much that they can just go back and buy out all of the shares and stay a private company forever, right? When a company goes public, like Gemini, they needed to go public because they were hemorrhaging money. They needed to raise money, right? Ripple doesn't have to do that. They're in a very powerful position. And so it's great that they're, all these companies are throwing money and they want to be a part and say, oh yeah, we got Ripple shares and this and that. But I'm just wondering if there's something there. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I could be kind of totally in left field by myself on this thought process, but that's what I'm thinking and I wanted to share it.
The company has been quite acquisitive. Where do you see M&A opportunities in 2026 and even beyond? What's exciting to you right now?
Yeah, so I mean, our